Hey, welcome everybody to the DFS Podcast for week 5 of the NFL season. You are here with Rowan and Arch. Arch, it's great to be back. How are you?
Oh, I'm very good, Rowan. Dust myself off after not the greatest week 4 in the DFS landscape, but look, I'm here with you, so what could be better?
Oh, that's right. It's a glorious thing to be with me. It's, week 4... Yeah, nothing to write home about, really, unfortunately. But that's okay. We move on. DFS is a wonderful thing. We get to kind of forget the past and just embrace what is
1 week season, baby.
Yeah, that's it. So, everybody who is paying attention to us, welcome. And please, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. If you're here on YouTube, then give us a like and subscribe as well. Hit the bell so you know when we go live, because we go live every Thursday, 9 p.m. Australian Eastern or Daylight Savings Time now, which is nice, isn't it, Chris, to be able to get on board the games an hour later than what they were in the morning. So I'm appreciating that.
Yeah, didn't quite feel that way the first Monday, but this one should be nice.
Yeah, that's it. Go to bed a little early. Don't worry about it. Wake up at 3 o'clock and you're set. Or 3:30, sorry. Anyway, catch us on Draftstars. That's where we're playing DFS.
Yes.
And we would encourage you to join us. bit.ly/join Draftstars. And we have our own TFL contest every week. You can find us in the lobby or, of course, hit the bit.ly/TFL week 5 to play us on Draftstars. Handy, single entry, $5 competition. It's a neat one. I really quite like it. It's a good entry-level, single-entry contest for anyone to jump on board. Anyone can win that one, I reckon. So, it's a good little contest. So, jump in. That'd be great.
Yep.
Let's quickly talk about last week. I mean, Detroit-Seattle was where it was at, and unfortunately for me, I faded that game.
Yes.
No stacks.
You weren't the only one, Rowan.
No. A bit of Hawkinson, tiny little bit of Hawkinson in there, which was great for some of my lineups, which, just meant that I lost less money. And, that's just where it was at, unfortunately. Arch, you looked at the winner of the main, though, and talk to me about how he won.
Yeah, look, it was a thin play. Like, not many people were on that game. Look back, maybe it was a good call, maybe it wasn't a good call. It turns out it was a bad call. Look, Goff and Geno lineups were littered through the top 10s. After the week, it's almost like I gave a little curse on Draftstars and said you must play the primos because the sub 12K guys don't get it done, and here we are. So sorry, guys, but I'm going to hold to that theory for another week, and we'll see it come through. Hopefully, maybe my 3-week sample size wasn't big enough. Who knows? What would I know? I'm not a maths teacher. What we have, though, is Goff was the winning lineup in the main. Joel Koo, great job. 109 nice round number lineups he entered into the main. Only 5 of them were Goff stacks. And so he'd obviously had spread out very thin a lot of stacks in there. And out of all his other stacks, he had a lot more than 5 lineups of your Allens, your Hurts and stuff like that. But Goff, he only had 5, and only 2 of them were paired with Hawkinson. And so they were the 2 top 100 finishers. You got number 1 and number 50. But outside of that, even his other Goff and Geno stacks weren't in the top 100. So, it was just a bit of a weird week. I think we just move on and don't, overanalyze it too much. Other things, how fading Eckler call, didn't work. For us, they finally worked out that, maybe this guy should have the ball, and he does things. And so he did things. Metcalf, was good to see him get some points as well. But yeah, Metcalf, Eckler, and Hawkinson, very low ownership, helping people win a lot of money if you played them last week.
Yeah, no, that's it. Look, each week we endeavour to make good plays of the week, and
yes,
good fades of the week, and sometimes they're just not going to hit. So
happy with my Rashad Penny call as a bit of a leverage play off of Jamal Williams. That worked out. Probably didn't play enough of him myself, though.
No, fair call. All right, well, that's us looking onto last week. Let's jump into this week. We're going to look at 4 key matchups and then run you through some of the other positions. But, Arch, I'm ready. Let's do it. Week 5.
Let's do it. Oh, yeah! Bah, bah. That's Week 5 preview. Yeah!
All right, here we go. Week 5. Bring it. I say, bring it on. I'm keen as a bean. If you're watching us live on YouTube, then you can jump in the chat. And
Yes.
we'd love to hear your thoughts on our takes on these games. And if you've got any questions, feel free to shoot them through. We'd love to answer them and give you a bit of our take on that as well. So, the first game that we're going to look at here, which is probably going to be the chalkiest game on the slate, in my personal opinion, and that's Philly at Arizona. Arizona are 5-point underdogs at home, and we've got an over-under here of 49. There's not many high over-unders on this game. There's nothing hitting 50 in terms of this slate, so this is what we've got. We've got a 49, but the 49 is still a decent total. It's something that we can look at and go, there should be a lot of points scored here, especially compared to the rest of the games.
Yeah.
So people are just going to probably flock to it. Plus, hey, it's Jalen Hurts, and everyone knows how good Jalen Hurts is. So let's jump into Philly. Hurts is at the top there at 14,240. Let's throw the screen up here for those of us who are watching on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
We are looking here at Jalen Hurts. He is priced pretty well, to be honest. The pricing's really flat this week. It's one thing I've noticed by looking at these at the slate.
Did he drop 2K from last week?
I think so, yeah. It was in the 16s last time. Anyway, Jalen Hurts is a gun. He's coming off a 17-point game, only 200 passing yards, but rushed in a touchdown. He's done 4 rushing touchdowns this year over 4 games. So Jalen Hurts, he's really, really good at fantasy football. And when it combines with great passing and great rushing, then they do well. And the thing is, the defense has been playing so well for Philly that Jalen Hurts hasn't had to bowl out. He is like number 1 when it comes to fantasy points earned in the first half of games, and then like 29th, I think, into points earned in the second half of games, because he just hasn't needed to do anything outside of the first half.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at Jalen Hurts here. I'm going, okay, look, can Arizona actually do something? And it's really interesting because Kyler Murray is like the opposite. Like, he's one of the worst quarterbacks in terms of scoring fantasy points in the first half, but one of the best when it comes to scoring fantasy points in the second half. It's like they get to halftime and go, all right, Kyler, we just need you to scramble and do your thing now.
Because we suck as coach.
Exactly. So Cliff's like, yeah, you just take it away. And so then suddenly we see the scrambles. We see, the passes to Marquise Brown, pretty much all the passes to Marquise Brown. We'll get to that in a second. So the question really is, can Arizona's offense do anything against this really an awesome Philadelphia defense? So that's the big question for me. Game script matters a lot in this game, because if the game script says that actually Arizona just aren't going to keep up, they're going to stay at least one score out of reach for the whole game, then I don't know if Jalen Hurts is worth playing extensively when it comes to like the micro and the main, because of this idea that he might not have to score too much points in the second half. He only put up, like we said, 17 points last week. So that's the question mark. The reality is, though, he's a guy that has a ceiling of 40 points, and you want to play that if you can. So it's, you have to ask yourself what's going to go on in this game. I personally am going to play this game because, hey, Vegas is saying they're going to stay within 5 points. That's the spread. So if that's going to be the case and they're going to be within a score, then I'm going to fire these guys up because, well, Jalen Hurts, when it comes to neutral pass rate, he's pretty good. They like to pass. And Miles Sanders, we can talk about him real quick. Miles Sanders came in last week and just went bunter. 134 rush yards at the ground, 2 rushing touchdowns. But that's the thing. He was able to because they got on top of Jacksonville. After that first 2 scores, they got on top of Jacksonville, and Miles Sanders was able to just take the pace of the game. Now, Sirianni came out after the game and pretty much just stopped the press and said, Miles Sanders is our number 1 guy. So in terms of the questions around committee and stuff like that, I'm kind of settling on the fact that Miles Sanders is the guy. But, of course, he's competing with Jalen Hurts in terms of the rushing yards and stuff like that. But if they're going to win comfortably, then Miles Sanders here, I think, is a great pivot. If you want to get off of the passing game and still have access to this game, I think Sanders is actually a really solid play for GPPs and creating good leverage on your lineup. So I like that. But let's get to A.J. Brown. He is our premium of the week. So, hey, we've got a clip for that. Let's go.
Show me the money!
AJ Brown is absurdly cheap, and yet he's still our premium of the week.
Yes.
He's $11,780. Out of all the players with over 70% route participation on the season, AJ Brown is fourth with a 33% target rate on routes run. He has got a huge opportunity against Arizona, who are the fifth worst team in pass DVOA. I'm looking at AJ Brown and his price and going, there's a touchdown and 100 yards in this game.
Yep.
Pretty easy, I reckon. And Brown he's consistently the number one option for Hurts. He's always looking for him. This is just, it's not a risk to play him at this price. It's just not. So for us, Brown is easily the premium play of the week. So just lock him in. Like, seriously, like.
The ceiling that you get with him at that price, it's like you're going to, 2x plus his salary this week. Like, you put him in. Whatever metrics I'm looking at, he is popping this week. Like, it's crazy. They've got the high team total, the high over-under. They've got the ranked fourth in neutral pace. And then you pair that with low price. Look, obviously, then it's going to command ownership. And so you're going to have to get different elsewhere in your lineup. But sometimes you just got to take these guaranteed points. I don't know.
He's going to be chalk.
Yeah.
And if he's not chalk, I don't know what people are doing. Like, seriously. You have to play this guy. Devonta Smith is the other wide receiver on the Philly offense.
He's the pivot.
He's sub 10K. And we saw 2 weeks ago what he can do. He can put up 30-odd fantasy points. He's boom or bust, let's be honest.
Yes.
He went, 3 of 4 targets, 3 receptions off 4 targets for 17 yards last week. But if you're going to play GPP, you got to rotate him through. If you're going to play a Hurts stack and get different, then Devonta Smith is fine. Like, I don't get it with the prices this week.
Are you happy with a double stack with both of them?
Only if you think Arizona's going to stay in the game.
Yeah.
Like, if they need a pass. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can do a double stack.
I think potentially, like, in a real small field, you could probably get away with it where you don't have to hit the nuts, and that way you sort of like, all right, well, I know one of these guys are going to go off, and they both should be serviceable in this matchup.
Yeah. I think in the mini and any single entry, I think a double stack's fine. Like, I think that's probably where you want to play it. But in the micro, maybe less so. Got it as well. He's 8,900, still pretty cheap. Arizona giving up the most fantasy points to tight ends, the second most yards per game to tight ends, and the most targets to tight ends. So, I mean, if you heard of a smash spot, it's this one for Dallas. Got it. So, look for him to potentially get into the end zone. So, double stacks are in play, like we said. But yeah, I mean, if you want to get different off of Brown, then maybe just go a single stack with Goddard or with Smith. Like, this is the kind of team that we're looking at where any of them could go off.
Yep. And just putting pieces of this game in. If you're not stacking, it's worth just putting pieces into your other stacks that you've got going on.
Totally. On the other side of the ball, Arizona, Murray's a bit of a fade for me. He's 12,870. Philly giving up the third least fantasy points to quarterbacks. And, Murray's yet to play a top 10 defense versus quarterbacks. Like, this is it says to me, just beware. And, sure, they're at home. And I think that kind of, feeds into the, maybe he'll be okay still thought. But I don't know. Philly are second in pass defense DVOA. I'm looking at this and going, Murray needs to scramble. He needs to pass to Marquise Brown a lot because the rest of the team is doing jack all for them.
Yeah.
Talking of Hollywood Brown, 10,680. Again, nice price. Looks to be Murray's safety valve. He's averaging 11.25 targets a game. He's 19th in targets per route run on the season in terms of receivers who have played more than 70% of snaps. It's a solid play.
Yeah.
And he's going to be the preferred bringback. If you're going to stack Hurts, you're going to bring it back with Marquise Brown. It's kind of really the only place I want to go. Run down more. Look, he's 8,000. He's had an increased ADOT, last week from last season, but that's not hard. Last season, his average depth of target was 1.4 yards.
That's something.
He had an average depth of target at 11.6 last week. So, that's quite an improvement, but still not, he only managed a target on 16% of his routes last week. And look, you could bring it back, but I'm going to pass on that.
It's just too thin a play. Too thin a play.
James Conner's interesting, though, for GPPs. James Conner is 12,890. He's priced up. He's a bit expensive for his output. However, his expected fantasy points, in terms of what I mean by that is looking at his past 4 games and going, what should we expect out of his opportunity? Well, he's actually been less than that. So his expected fantasy points are higher than his actual fantasy points. So I think this is where we can look at regression. Is someone actually going to go back to what we think should be happening in terms of the opportunities that they're going to get? And Philly are actually they're most susceptible to the run, right? Philly are 23rd in rush DVOA. So I'm looking at this going, if Connor can actually get some juice, if they find their way into the red zone and Connor falls in, look, hey, he could be a sneaky GPP play here. So it's a way to get different and bring it back potentially as well. So I don't mind Connor, and I think just beware. Ertz 8,940, 7.75 targets a game is nice. However, that's really it. I prefer got it here big time. Ertz is currently averaging his lowest yards per catch in his career. He's catching it and falling down. That's what this guy does.
He's at the end.
That's right. So I'm going to pass on Ertz against this really tough pass defense. So the stacks here I've got, look, you can double stack it. Hurts with Brown and a Smither got it. Swap them around and then bring it back with a Brown or a Connor. And if you really want to, I'm not going to, but Murray and Marquise Brown and then bring it back with Brown. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. No, nice. Shall we move on? Atlanta, Tampa Bay. Look, this game is going to get ugly, Ron. Tampa Bay are only 8-point favourites. But what we saw is, the first 3 weeks of Tampa's offense, things weren't looking pretty. There was no healthy receivers. Last week, we get everyone back, and things start cooking nicely. And look, I don't know if it's the divorce papers getting drawn up that's got him inspired, but Tom Brady, I think we're going to see a lot more explosive offense going forward, as compared to those first 3 weeks. So, look, this is the second highest team implied total on the slate. So, Vegas expects points to be had on the Tampa side. Atlanta defense 26th in rush DVOA. Which really opens up Fournette as a decent option. It's pretty expensive if you look on in prices, but with the value you can get at wide receiver this week, you could make that work. He's the third most expensive running back, but I think the game script here is quite favourable to him. Look, Rashad White showed something last week, was on the field a fair bit, but that was against Kansas City, and it was a bit more of a game script that favoured a pass catching back. I don't think we see that straight away.
Can I bring something up though? I love listening to the Underdog Fantasy podcast. Hayden Winks and Josh Norris, they do an awesome job.
Yep.
And one of the things that Hayden Winks brought up was actually it wasn't a situational change.
Ooh.
That when Rashad White came in for his touchdown, it's not like he came in. He had been in that whole drive. And so they actually gave that whole drive to Rashad White. So Lenny Fournette, he had, it's almost like 2 drives for Lenny and then 1 drive for Rashad. 2 drives for Lenny, 1 drive for Rashad. So there is something going on, I think, in terms of Rashad White actually becoming a trusted piece of that offense. So I'm actually, I'm not going to push back and say either of these are bad plays or better plays, but I think there's something to watch here with Rashad White. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see Rashad White come out and be part of a touchdown drive and being a recipient of that. So there is, it's thin. I understand it's still thin, but I don't think what we saw last week is a one-off or an anomaly.
Yep.
Anyway, that's my thought.
No, that's good reasoning. I guess the question then is, do you want to try to be that week early, or do you want to see it unfold a little bit before you go dive in after 1 week? And so, to me, I'm probably going to be fairly light on Rashad White, but also Fournette. It's more to me. I think the pass catchers are probably going to catch the steam here on the Tampa side. That's what probably opens up Fournette as a good GPP play if he snags a touchdown or two and catches against the wide receivers. That Chris Godwin, if we just highlight him first, only 11K. He is dirt cheap. Look, he hasn't done much yet, but that he's coming off of injury. He's getting healthier and healthier. I think he's still nursing a bit of a knee issue this week. It's been a little bit limited in practice. But against Atlanta, like you go back, he has balled out. And so I'm looking at Godwin as a smash spot here. Mike Evans, you're going to pay an extra 3K for. So potentially is the GPP play again where people are going to look at this and think, look, Evans and Godwin, they're similar tier in an offense. Both can get a lot of work here. I'll pay down for the cheaper option. And so Evans might be available at a decent ownership. What are your thoughts on these two receivers?
Yeah, no, I mean, you're stacking Brady, so you're going to play both of these guys. Like, it's a case of Mike Evans is going up against AJ Terrell. It's typically a harder matchup than some. So, but Mike Evans is the guy in the end zone for Brady. So, if Brady's going to come out here and want to just whoop ass because he's having a hard time at home, then
everyone needs an outlet, Rowan.
Yeah, that's right. So Evans is that outlet in my mind. So I'm looking at that going, either of those two are great plays. I think they're great plays. But Godwin, he's the cheaper one, so more people probably go to him.
I mean, the Mike Evans, you've got just that size and red zone threat. I just love a big-bodied receiver. If we want to keep talking about big-bodied receivers, we'll move on to the other side of the ball. And Drake London London's got a new king. London is king of Atlanta as well. So there you go. Little bit of monarchy chat for you. But I love Drake London this week. How's he 9.1K after how much he's involved in this offense? I guess he had a down week, but
they're going to have to pass against Tampa. Tampa's run defense is so good. They're going to have to pass in the ball. Like I can see Drake London getting 12 targets this game because of what they have to do.
You ran through who's leading in targets per route run for those who have been involved in 70+% of routes. London must be pretty close to the top there at 39% of targets per route run. Like he is, Mariota is locked in.
He's number one.
He is number one.
He's number one.
Yeah, last week ran 90% of the routes, barely got off the field. 0.39 targets per route run is just outrageous. Only 9K in such a big high total. Look, the pace hasn't been they're average, pace of play type team, but when you're on the field that much and targeted that heavily, it just doesn't matter. And against Tampa, they're going to have to play catch up. There are, Cordero Patterson's moved to IR. The running backs are just, we all try to put bids on them in our redraft leagues this week. They're going to be rubbish. It's going to have to happen through the air. And so London here is just, he's the automatic bring back. I can't go anywhere else. I guess the other option is Pitts. Hasn't quite done it for us yet. And potentially people are just going to say, not again. I'm not going to get burnt again. His price isn't dropping that much considering what he's produced. But again, Pitts is out there. Look, he did drop last week, only 65% route participation, but he's still commanding targets when he is running routes. But he's just not converting them to anything meaningful. So it's a thin play.
Supposedly dealing with a hamstring injury as well. At the moment. So, again,
to me, it's all lining up to London being the bring back. Tampa stacks, Tampa double stacks. Even Tampa, Tom Brady with Lenny Fournette. We saw, they actually had a few decent runs last year as obscure stacks where you don't normally hit the running back, but Tom Brady and Fournette, can work together, and that's a way to get different in this game. So, look, if we just want to go back to those running backs, Rowan. Sure. Who would you consider playing any of them? So we're talking about Tyler Algier, and what's the other bloke's name?
Caleb Huntley.
Huntley?
And no is the answer. Legitimately, I just don't care. One, that means there's two that we have to choose between, and that's never a good sign. Tampa Bay are a phenomenal rush defense. I think in rush DVOA they're sitting at Actually, they've faded a little bit this year. They've gone back to the middle of the pack in rush TDY. That's interesting. Either way, these are two young guys that haven't shown much. I'm just going to fade because game theory-wise, the receivers are just cheap.
They're cheap
on this slate.
No, you don't need an 8K.
You
don't need an 8K running back that's going to have to split work. I mean, it's a low point implied team total as well on the Atlanta side. So the scoring opportunity is going to be low as well. And we know those scoring opportunities are going to go to London.
Yeah.
So, look, stacking this game, it's a Brady Evans-Godwin double stack for mine.
Yeah.
Bringing it back with London. Let's just keep it simple and get out of this game.
Yeah, for sure.
Or just a mini stack in other ones, like Fournette London mini stacks could work well.
Yeah. No, I don't mind that either. It plays to the game script that we expect as well. All right, well, let's move on to the game number 3 that we're looking at. It's the Chargers at Cleveland, where Cleveland are home underdogs by 3 points, and there is an over/under of 47 points, which is still nice. I'm gonna still take a 47 over/under. So let's start with the Chargers, and we've got here Justin Herbert, who I think there's something about Justin Herbert that I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because he's a passer. He doesn't mobilize much. That people aren't playing him on Draftstars as much as I would expect, or what he probably deserves. He had that rib injury, and I think people are still remembering that. Last week against Houston, he was pretty solid. Let's look at what he did. He put up 340 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. 300-yard bonus is in play every single week if you're looking at his scores here. Like, this is a pass-first team.
Yep.
This is a team that loves to air it out. Now, Keenan Allen, I actually think he's unlikely to be back. I'm going to monitor that. He didn't practice today, so that says a lot, I think, about what we could expect coming up, which means that Mike Williams is our number 1 receiver once again, sitting there 11,700. Tell you what, Arch, there are so many sub 12K players that I just am salivating to play this week because they just are projected to do so bloody well. Mike Williams, look, 7 for 120 the week before against Jacksonville, down game, still had the touchdown. Kansas City, 8 for 113 and 1. This is a game that I honestly think both defenses are weak. The Chargers are weakening. We saw that last week with Houston, and they gave Damian Pierce just alleys to run down. And then Cleveland Browns are also weak on the defensive side as well. Let's see if Clowney and Myles Garrett get back. But if they don't, well, then the Chargers I'm just looking at going, yeah, sweet, let's play all of these guys.
Yep.
Yeah, look. Some other stats. They're 4th in neutral pass rate and neutral pass percentage. The Chargers are, and so I'm looking at this and going, that's great for Williams. That's great for DeAndre Carter. Now DeAndre Carter, 6K play, and a pretty nice one at that. Let me just see if I can find him on the screen here. Look, didn't have much last week. 2 for 16, lost a fumble. That's unfortunate. But the weeks before, 3 receptions each week, had a touchdown in week 1. Has had some decent yardage totals, but the thing that interested me is that he was running routes on he had a 66% route participation last week. On the season, 78% last week. He looks to be climbing into that 3rd receiver spot nicely, especially with Allen not playing out there. And so, look, when Herbert's chucking the ball that many times and putting up 300 plus yards, hey, I'm going to look at Carter as a cheap little guy to accentuate the difference in my stack. So I like that. The other guy is Everett. Everett is look, he's that I actually kind of hoped when I drafted him late in redraft leagues at the beginning of the year. 5 for 61 and a touchdown last week against Houston. Very nice indeed. Early in the season, 3 for 54 and a touchdown, 6 for 71. Like, they're great score lines. Like, once again, all of the pass options are up for grabs here on the Chargers side of the ball. And last of all, let's talk about Austin Eckler. And he burnt me because I faded him last week.
Yes.
Again. So another reason why I won very little money last week. However, let's just look at his reception totals. He's receiving a lot. Actually put up a decent rushing total last week with 60 yards on the ground, 2 rushing touchdowns
finally came.
I think what we're seeing here is the experiment is reverting back to what we expected at the beginning of the year, where
Yep.
we've seen Michelle and Josh Kelly come in and mix through and stuff like that. And the reality is neither of those two guys are making much difference for the Chargers. And the Chargers are going, you know who our best running back is? It's Austin Eckler. And you know what? He's going to score 3 touchdowns against Houston last week, and he's coming up against Cleveland. And Cleveland are the 30th rush defense in DVOA. So, he hasn't been super efficient on the ground lately, but last week's touchdowns, I think, showing that he is. They're going, look, Eckler, we wanted to give you a little bit of space and breathing room in terms of the opportunities that we give you, but hey, we're just going to ramp it up. I think we're going to ramp it up. Cleveland gave up 5.8 yards per carry last week, and I love it. I'm going to play Eckler this week. He's a pay-up option that I really, really like. So, let's go to Eckler. Let's include him in our Herbert stacks as well.
Yes.
Because he loves to catch the ball. The other side, Cleveland. Brissett. Super cheap. And I don't know, Arch. Is it? Can you play him in? Shake your head.
No. I can't do it.
He's got a 2 times his value, I think, pretty easily when I look at this game.
Yeah, but you also need more points than 16, though, from your quarterback to win a tournament.
Yeah, it's true. I'm looking at this
like
as more
like
of a
I said,
cash
you
play
have
only.
to hit the nuts in every other position with his ceiling.
No, that's fair. That's fair. And if you're doing that, you're probably paying up in places where you could pay down, which would be a better pay down option.
Yep.
So, let's just ignore that. I said anything about Brissett. He's hard to
I mean,
trust.
he's bloody cheap. There's no
He
going
is
around
bloody
it.
cheap. He's probably going to outperform his price. He's going to be a value, but whether he wins you anything is
Maybe
I think, another
you could
question.
probably put him in a cash lineup, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, I agree. Nick Chubb, you can also play in cash, and you'll be fine. And you can play him in
GPPs.
tournaments and potentially win, because Nick Chubb is an absolute beast. He continues to put up many, many yards on the ground. He continues to find the end zone. He's even
100-yard
receiving a
bonus,
touch.
3 out of 4 weeks there.
It's ridiculous. It's so good. Just some numbers: 20.25 rush attempts per week for 114.75 rush yards per week at 5.7 yards per carry. It's just stupid what he is doing. And the Chargers are giving out the 4th most fantasy points to running backs at 6.1 yards per carry, the most yards per carry to running backs on the season. So just play Chubb. Just play him.
Yep.
There's no reason to not, except if you want to get a bit different in the main and the micro and play Hunt. And Hunt is sitting there at 10K, pretty much flat, and he hasn't done too much the last couple of weeks. But we know that there are games in him when he can score 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
He can, and he's the one who's receiving the ball a little bit more. And it's not saying much in a Cleveland offense that doesn't throw the ball much, but Kareem Hunt gets out there.
And I think
you can't ignore that.
I think the 10K, the fact that he's just a nudge over 10K, people will then think, nah, it's not worth going to Hunt. He's not cheap enough.
But
So if you select him in a 2 touchdown week, like not many people I think are going to be on Hunt this week.
Oh, everyone's going to be on Chubb. So Hunt's a great pivot. I really like that as well. Amari Cooper's the only receiver worth talking about because he can have these massive games here.
Yep.
I just don't know if that's going to be the case against the Chargers. So it's a play if you want. If you really like Cooper and you need a bring back, then maybe that's fine. Maybe you see this game really pushing the over, and potentially Amari Cooper then sits well into that. So if they think this goes over 48 points into the 50s, then I think Cooper's not too bad of a play. Tight end land, David Njoku's shown out the last couple of weeks. He's been really solid. He's having a resurgence, 17 targets over 2 weeks. I just don't know if he can sustain the usage.
No.
That's the question for me. Although the Chargers are giving up the 6th highest yards per reception for tight ends at 12.4 yards per reception. So I don't mind that. Like, if Njoku goes at that rate and catches 4 targets, he's solid. He's solid enough. But I don't know. There's so many tight ends around the 8K mark today. So I'm not 100% sold. Anyway, so that's them. It's really it's Chubb. It's really Chubb. But if you want to get a little bit different, then Hunt and Cooper are reasonable options. I think I'm going to be stacking Herbert a chunk.
Yep.
Yeah, just real big chunk of my lineups are going to be Herbert. So Herbert, Williams, Eckler, or Herbert, Williams, and Carter. I think you've got to have Williams in your Herbert stacks.
Yep.
And then bring it back with, like I said, Hunt, Chubb, or Cooper. I think if you're going a Herbert, Williams, Eckler stack, then you can probably bring back with Hunt, Chubb, or Cooper. Include the running backs in the bring back, because you're probably saying if Eckler's part of that, then it's a competitive game. There's running backs going to work on the ground. If you're going to do a Herbert Williams Carter stack, so it's the Chargers are throwing it out a lot, then potentially, and that probably means that they're in front a lot, then Cleveland might be the better bring back with Cooper or Njoku if they have to try and chase that way. So there's a few options to get around this game, but look, Herbert stacks are the way to go. Like we said, I'm not going to stack Brissett. So yeah, there you go. Anything you want to add about Chargers Cleveland?
No. Look, I just think that this is a game that potentially gets steamed up. I think the points total will increase as we get closer. I think a lot of people are going to overlook this game, looking at Tampa, looking at Philadelphia, looking at Buffalo this week as the main games to stack. I think we can get a bit of leverage on those games by targeting this one.
For sure. All right, let's move on to our last game, and that is Buffalo and Pittsburgh. Take us away, Arch.
Yeah, look, the two games that just happen. We order these by game totals, and I just happen to get the two most lopsided affairs. 15 point now on playup.com.au, Buffalo favourite over Pittsburgh. Like, this is at home, Buffalo. Like, they are going to destroy Kenny Pickett's career before it even starts. Like, poor guy. Like, this is like, hold on to Trubisky for one more week. Like, let him feed him to the Lions and then come back with Kenny Pickett. Like, this has Tennessee week 2 written all over it, where the game was done halfway through the third quarter and the backups went in. Like, yeah, this isn't going to be pretty. Like, light a candle for Kenny Pickett, guys. This is not a way to get introduced to the NFL. Why would you start him this week? Like,
poor kid.
He's not going to beat them. I tell you what, if he bloody does, it'd be I'll buy his jersey and everything. But no, not a chance.
Savior for a long time.
Oh man. So obviously we're attacking the Buffalo side here, and we saw that in that week against Tennessee, Allen, even in 2.5 quarters, and Diggs in 2.5 quarters, they returned their value amazingly. So don't be afraid to think that just because they're such heavy favourites that they're not going to play enough. They're 2 touchdown favourites because they're scoring a heck of a lot of touchdowns against this team. So Diggs and Allen, you can't go wrong, but those prices are eating a big chunk of your salary there. Over 30% of your salary on 2 guys. It never feels great. You're going to end up having to punt a lot of, your tight end or another wide receiver to make that work. Diggs, after a couple quiet games, but, like I said, look at that Tennessee, 47.8. Ooh, like, this is the sort of stuff where we're going to look at again. McKenzie has been pretty nice over the last few weeks, but has he been confirmed out, Rowan?
I don't think he's been confirmed out, but a lot of it is pointing in that direction that he will be out.
So, look, he's been doing pretty well compared to Gabe Davis, who just can't seem to get open. Like, he's running routes but not getting targeted. So
he looked hurt still last week.
Yeah. And so you hope
full
that
practice
maybe
though today, full practice.
Yeah, so you hope another week of getting better that he'll start to get open a little bit more. But watch the chalk go heavily on Khalil Shakir if McKenzie is out. 6K, he'll slot into that role, the rookie. Probably might steer clear if the field's so heavily on him. I don't know. What do you think about Khalil Shakir this week?
Yeah, look, I really don't mind him, especially if this is a blowout. If this is a blowout and the teams come off, halfway through the third quarter, then I think they keep Shakir on. He'll play the whole game.
Yep.
And he'll probably be the favourite target of Case Keenum. So I don't mind it at all. I think Shakir is a really solid player if McKenzie's not there. If McKenzie's not there, Shakir for sure.
The worry is that he commands 30+% ownership and then could kill your lineups if he doesn't hit. I think potentially where you want to get different here is Dawson Knox. price is steadily dipping, hasn't done anything yet, but he can hit 2 touchdown weeks very easily. And I'd like to get on that before the field does. And so in a matchup where the popularity is going to be headed towards a Khalil Shakir, headed towards Diggs, I think Knox is going to be the lesser owned piece. And we know that, it just takes 1 or 2 touchdowns, and then he's winning you tournaments this week. So he's run the most routes out of. Oh, sorry, I'm reading someone else. Backtrack, Rowan. Yeah, no. My other pivot piece. That's what I started reading, Rowan. I got too excited because this is the piece that I just when I constructed my spreadsheet for the week, Rowan, and my spreadsheet that I've got doing, and I've started working on a DFS model, Rowan. And look, at the moment, I'm going to say it's not great, but it does highlight some good plays. And one that it highlighted, and I had to look a bit closer, and I didn't trust my inputs, is Devin Singletary. The scores aren't huge. Like, he's had, 2 weeks ago, had a decent week. But this is the running back that is leading the NFL in routes run. Would you believe that if I told you?
I do now because I trust you, Arch.
Yeah, thanks. I had to go to a few sources. So I didn't trust me. That's pretty crazy on a Josh Allen offense. Now he's not getting targeted a heap. Like, only 17% of his routes he's getting targeted on. It's not terrible. No. And as you can see there, he's had 4 catches, 9 catches, and then 2 and 2 in the first 2 weeks. But recently he's catching a fair bit, and so they're the backs that you want, the pass catching backs. And what do running backs do? Like, they're gonna, if they're sitting on a lead, they're gonna give Singletary the ball, and he is the guy now. Like, the experiment with all their other pieces that they keep drafting is over. So look, I'm on Singletary. My only pause is that Tennessee game where they did blow them out, and he didn't get as much work as I'd like to see. And in fact, James Cook actually came on and did a fair bit of work. So that's my only concern, is that if they do blow out, that Cook comes in. But Cook's not a great running back. Like, for sure, I'm gonna trust Devin Singletary, who at his price, $10K, that's a great value running back this week. I think he can be a nice way to get into this game, but be quite contrarian to the field.
No, fair call. Pittsburgh, anyone there?
Yeah, nah, is what I've written. Look,
not even Deontay Johnson.
Why? Why would I bother? Like,
it's $8K.
Yeah, cheap. Yeah. There's so many other values that we're talking about a team with an implied team total of 16.25. Like,
ugly.
Like, this is ugly. It's a rookie quarterback in his first game on the road in Buffalo. Like, what are they doing? Come on, don't start him. So look, I couldn't in good conscience do it. Look, there is a world where potentially he does all right. The pieces in Pittsburgh that I think are places where I might invest a little bit of my exposure would be maybe a Pickens punt play at $6K. I think he's all right. We saw, last week did pretty well. He's still only $6K due to the matchup. And Pat Frymuth could be just that safety blanket that Pickett needs. And so they're probably the only 2 pieces that I'm looking at. They're priced down, but I'd rather, I probably am going to look at stacking, the Buffalo side without bringbacks, really. So, yeah, talking stacks, it's Alan Diggs with maybe a Knox or Shakir, and then another way to get into this game maybe is a Singletary Buffalo defense stack.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because, rookies on the road, like, there's turnovers to be had, surely.
Oh, look, Buffalo defense is great this week, 100%. For sure. All right, well, that brings us to the end of our 4 key matchups that we're looking at this week. It really is 6 teams in that. It's not like 5, even if you're taking out stacks. Like, there's really
I spoke
5
too
stacks.
long about Pittsburgh as it was.
Yeah, that's fair. So let's just move into our other positions, and let's go to quarterbacks. Is there a quarterback stack that you don't mind this week that we haven't talked about, Arch?
Look,
value play, or what's the best of the rest?
The best of the rest. Look, we saw what Goff can do. Look, Detroit defense isn't really doing much, and so Goff has to throw the ball a lot. That's really all it is. He did it with all his weapons last week. So I think Detroit, pretty good. Second in neutral pace of play. Look, he's going to pass a lot. So Goff is in play. Kirk Cousins as well. Home favourites against the Bears. Pair him with Justin Jefferson, and that should be all right.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to mention Teddy Bridgewater. He's playing the Jets, and he has Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle at his disposal. So for me, that's kind of enough to play Teddy Bridgewater at 10.8K. Like he could put up 2 times the price here, and Tyreek Hill, we know what he can do after the catch. So look, I'm going to play some Teddy Bridgewater in the micro this week. Let's just say that it's going to happen. So
enjoy that.
Yeah, I will enjoy that. You know, New York Jets are 29th in pass DVOA. Hill and Waddle just will eat. Bridgewater can get it to those guys. Like that's not going to be hard. Anyway, so that's my value.
That's of course if Tua doesn't play, Rowan. He could be fine.
Let's not go there. I don't want to. There's a lot to be said about that. Enough has been said about that already. So moving on to running backs then, and my best running back is. For some reason I didn't write it on the sheet here, but they're playing Seattle, and it's Kamara. Now, Kamara, Seattle, 31st in overall defensive DVOA and 19th in rush defensive DVOA. So
they're a bad defense.
They're bad. They're just bad. If Kamara's healthy, then I'm going to play him. He's going to have really low ownership. He's coming off a non-playing week. I'm looking at him going, he should be the guy. Mark Ingram is not doing anything.
No.
And so I'm going to sprinkle him in, really. I don't think I'm going to do much Kamara, but I think you don't have to play much to get over the ownership. I think if you play, 10%, I think you're probably doing more Kamara than what the rest of the field's going to do. So I think it's a prime bounce back spot. And New Orleans are 9th best in offensive rush DVOA. So they're able to move the ball when they're rushing it. And so Kamara, I think, is a decent play. I think you can play him. Anyway, so he's probably, in terms of those top tier guys, he's one other guy that we haven't talked about that I'd be happy to play if he is healthy and gets the run. So anyway, Kamara for me, Arch. Who are you looking at down the other end?
Look, value-wise, I'll give you 2 names quickly. James Robinson, what a great story that is, coming off the Achilles. He's coming up against Houston, 29th in rush DVOA. So, and as favourites in that game, so they'll look to him to run the ball. Khalil Herbert as well. Minnesota, 28th in rush DVOA, and if Monty is out, he's got the volume. He's the guy, and so the only thing to think about is, I guess, ownership with Khalil Herbert. A lot of people were on him last week. I think it was the most popular play in the main. Just a side note, I think a nice little leverage play this week would be to maybe take a punt on Mooney.
But our fade of the week also comes in the running back room, doesn't it, Arch?
Oh, is this yours or mine?
You can take it.
I'll take it. Let me tee it up.
Declare bankruptcy!
Christian McCaffrey is our fate of the week. I hate saying it, Rowan. I hate saying it. But look, he hasn't been great this week, this year. 49ers defense is number 1 in rush and overall DVOA. Number 1 in total expected points added per play as well. They're number 3 in explosive rush percentage. That means giving up, the third fewest rushes of over 10 plus yards. Look, they're number 4 in explosive pass percentage. So they're not giving up pass plays over 15 plus yards. What's Christian McCaffrey left to do? That's his MO. Look, this is a week to fade him. 49ers D are good. Carolina is bad. Don't overthink it. Just fade Carolina and fade Christian McCaffrey.
If only DFS was always as simple as this team is good and that team is bad.
Yeah,
we'd always win.
Yeah, that's right. Unfortunately, we've probably put the curse on our fate of the week again and watch him go for 40, but, we'll see how it goes.
That's right. Wide receiver, though. Let's move on to wide receivers. The best of the rest. You've got Cooper Kupp. I mean, is there anyone else?
Honestly, that's, I mean, the only thing is he's so expensive on a slate with so many value wide receivers out there. But I mean, you're banking 25 as a floor with this guy, really. And so, look, he's 40% targets per route run last week. Fade at your own peril, really, Kupp. To me, he's unfadeable.
Yeah, he really is. Kupp is unfadeable. Now,
apart from 2 weeks ago.
That's right. Let's talk about someone that I talked about last week. But last week he was our premium of the week. This week he's our value of the week. So
what?
Let's jump into this guy.
Inconceivable.
CeeDee Lamb is our value of the week. After being in the 13,000s last week, Draftstars have dropped him down to 10,950. That's a $2,760 price drop from last week after he put up 21.7 points. Now, I think the reason for this is last week they played Washington, and this week they play the Rams. And the Rams, they're a tough defense. They're really, really strong, aren't they? Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, all that kind of stuff. But get this, the Rams are 25th this year in pass defense DVOA. They are giving up the second most fantasy points to the wide receiver position on the year. Get the Rams out of your head and take on board this beautiful gift that we have been given. CeeDee Lamb still running 96% of routes, still having 33% targets per route run, still 5th in the league for air yards. You play CeeDee Lamb.
Yep.
I just don't understand.
No,
I don't understand much. What's going on here?
We're going 3 for 3 in our plays this week, Ron. We've got it nailed.
Look, seriously, if AJ Brown and CeeDee Lamb aren't in every lineup of mine, and I should be winning everything if those. The thing is, though, they would just be chalky. That's the unfortunate thing. Both these guys are chalky, but I mean, you play them at cash, both of them.
Yep.
But CeeDee Lamb at sub 11K, just doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. Look, I'm wondering if the ownership's going to be pretty flat on wide receivers this week with so many value players.
It's true.
Potentially, we just don't need to think too much about ownership. I think maybe you focus that in your running backs and tight ends. Yeah. And I think the wide receivers are going to be pretty flat.
Do we just play who you like this week? It feels a bit of a play who you like week.
Yeah, play the players.
Let's move on to tight ends. The best of the rest, well, we haven't mentioned the great TJ Hawkinson last week, putting up the 7th best fantasy outcome that a tight end has ever produced in NFL history. So, 8 for 179, 2 touchdowns. Pretty ridiculous, if I don't mind saying. Well, guess what? We want to. Well, firstly, let's expect regression. I think it's a fair call to say. But get this: Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Chark, Josh Reynolds, DeAndre Swift did not participate in practice today. If that's a sign for what's to come, then Jared Goff is just going to have to use TJ Hawkinson once again. And at 10K flat, it's not a big price to pay.
No.
And so I'm looking at this going, why not? Let's chase some points. Let's see what can happen. New England giving up the 7th most points to tight ends. I don't know, Chris, but this just seems like why not? Let's just do it again. See how it goes.
Run it back.
Anyway, he's the best of the rest. Clearly, he's the best at the moment. But value, Arch, where are you going for value?
Look, I love a good tight end play. So can I just give you a whole bunch of 5 around the 5K mark, and you tell me which ones you like?
Go for it.
All right. So Juwan Johnson, we'll go him. 60% route participation last week, 22% targets per route run last week as well. So he's on the field. He's in view of Dalton. Is he whoever's going to be quarterback this week? Who knows? But look, there's a chance for a touchdown against a bad defense, Seattle. So don't mind him at just a smidge over 5K. Tyler Conklin. 5K again. Like this guy is 83% route participation on the season. Like this guy's heavily involved. So just hasn't, only caught that one touchdown week 1. But look at those yards, like 84, 52. Like he's involved. So at 5K flat,
Not
worth
bad.
chucking in there. Will Disley.
Oh,
What do you think?
the Diss. I love Will Disley this week.
Yeah. Just the $5,070. Don't know why they have to throw the 70 on there, but just a bit difficult. Always a touchdown chance. 73% route participation last week. Again, very much on the field. What about a bit of a Kate Otten, Rowan?
I don't mind it.
Now,
If Brait's out, then I think Otten's a really solid play.
so this is purely a statistical analytics view. I've not watched the kid play. He's a rookie. But
He looked
last week,
That's all right.
62% route participation, jumped up from 30% of the year. So he's been a huge uptick in his, being put out on the field. There's a high team total in this matchup. This is a chance. Is clearly a touchdown chance. Then if he's on the field a whole bunch, and there's lots of points to be had. If you're looking for a punt play that could catch a touchdown, Kate Otten could be your guy. Won't be owned much at all, surely.
No, you wouldn't think so. That's for sure.
Anyway,
No,
4
don't.
punt plays for you.
Wonderful. Let's quickly talk defense.
Yeah.
The best, as you said, number 1 in overall defensive DVOA. It's San Francisco taking on Baker Mayfield. So just lock that in. I mean,
Yep.
that seems pretty good to me. The Titans, they're taking on Washington, and Carson Wentz has had 17 sacks. That's 4 sacks a week.
Yeah.
Over that.
I think he
Play.
enjoys a sack. Like, I don't know. Like, take that, interpret that however you wish.
Tennessee will have a lot of sacks. Let's just say that.
Values? Should we look at some values, some
Yep.
some
Who
cheaper
are our values?
defenses? How about Dallas, 5.1K?
Love
Look, they're
Dallas this
second in
week.
total sacks this year. And old mate Stafford was sacked 7 times last week. So pair them together. We should see Stafford on his ass a few times. And then maybe go a little bit 1K cheaper to a bit of Seattle. Seattle versus Dalton. And can I interest you in that?
You can. You can interest me in that.
Like Seattle aren't the greatest defense, but we look for turnover opportunities. And so, look, he looked after the ball in London versus Minnesota last week. But do we see Dalton just sort of regress and give that ball away? So
I'm impressed that they got 7 points out of. They gave up 45 real points, and the
Yes.
defense still scored 7 fantasy points. Like they
Yeah.
got an interception for a touchdown. They've had 6 turnovers over the first 4 weeks.
Yep.
Seahawks are solid.
yeah,
New
yeah,
Orleans.
could do a
nothing
lot
to-
worse.
I agree. That brings us to our
Yes.
final little thing here. We might build a little head-to-head lineup. So we are here
Cash
in our
game.
TFL. Yes, right. Well, we're here in the TFL podcast contest. Let's build one that we might play in this. So, what's a stack that you really like, Arch? Do we go down to Brady?
Look,
Play
to me,
around
it's to me, I was probably looking at maybe a Hertz or Herbert.
Sure.
Where do you?
Let's go Herbert. I love the Chargers. So
Yep.
I mean,
You do.
I love Philly, obviously, but I think in terms of
We
consistent
got to plug in
game
Williams.
script, Chargers are great. So
Yep.
we got to play Williams.
We got to put Chubb in. You reckon?
Yeah, let's go with Nick Chubb. Do we want to play Eckler to make it a double stack, or do we like the value elsewhere?
Yeah. Can we come back to that one?
Sure, no worries. Let's go to wide receiver. We are playing AJ Brown. We are playing
are.
CD Lamb because that's who we said we would play.
Yep. Do you want to look at any bringbacks on those games? Do you want a Marquise Brown in your flex, or do you want to try to pay down at running back so we can fit Cup in as a flex?
No, I don't want to play Cup. I'm happy to not play Cup. Marquise Brown is probably fine. I think we could play him. Let's see what it looks like with Marquise Brown. He's all the way down here. All right, then let's get a little bit different. DST. Let's play Seattle.
Yep.
Tight ends. Well, we could play Gerald Everett here as a double stack,
Yeah, I don't mind that.
and we got 14K to spend.
So we don't get.
Not quite.
What about Derrick Henry against Washington?
We didn't mention him before, but he's a solid running back play for sure. I think if I was not going to play Kamara, then Henry was going to be the other guy that I mentioned. So, no, happy to play that. I think that's really solid. That's a solid lineup.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Well, thanks everybody for joining in for the TFL podcast once again, and hopefully you've got a bit of insight into week 5 coming up. I'm excited. There's some great plays this week, so I'm really pumped. Arch, it's been good fun.
As always.
As always. Well, remember everybody, gamble responsibly. 1-800-868-868. And
Join out.
That's it. And our contest, bit.ly/TFL week 5. We'll see you in there. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. You know the drill. Share us with your friends, your mates, and let's all do well.
Yes.
Not as well as me, but let's all do well in our Draftstars endeavours this week. Alrighty, Arch, it's been fun.
Beautiful. Catch you later.
Bye.